Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast.
Today we are breaking down Chapter 63, I Won't Die.
And what a title for this chapter, because Luffy takes 2 giant metal stakes to the body, punches through a literal cape of spikes, and then asks Don Krieg if this is his grave or Krieg's. It is absolutely phenomenal. The sheer unadulterated goat energy coming off this kid is blinding.
The sheer force of will on display here is something else. It transcends simple endurance. It's as if reality itself has to bend around his conviction. If you want to keep up with every single unhinged thing this rubber man does, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode where he inevitably tops this.
He will, and we'll be here for it. Let's get into it because this chapter starts right in the thick of the poison gas cloud.
Krieg has just shot the MH5 bomb, and Jin is succumbing to it, but Krieg shows absolutely no remorse.
No remorse? He's proud of it. He calls Jin garbage and says it's proper for him to die by his commander's hand. The absolute nerve of this guy. The worst kind of scrap metal. Even his own crew is horrified. They can't believe what they're seeing. This isn't a captain, it's a tyrant.
It's the ultimate expression of his philosophy. His crew are just tools, completely disposable. And what's fascinating, in a grim way, is the absolute purity of that narcissism. We've seen other villains who are cruel, like Captain Morgan, or cunning, like Kuro, but they operated within a framework of personal gain. For Krieg, his crew's existence is solely to serve as extensions of his own ego. Their deaths are not a loss. They are a function of the machine.
It's a machine with no heart, just a big, loud, gold-plated engine. And that's why the contrast with Sanji is so super powerful.
Immediately, Patty and Karn come out from the restaurant, and Sanji doesn't hesitate for a second. He yells at them to get an antidote, anything they have.
Immediately. And look, these guys, Patty and Karn, they're not bad people, but they're normal people. They're cooks, not saints. Their first reaction is the one most of us would have.
And they hesitate, naturally. Jin is the enemy who just threatened to kill them all. He held Patty at gunpoint moments ago. From a tactical standpoint, letting him die is the logical move. He is a high-ranking officer of an invading force.
But Sanji doesn't care. That's the core of who he is. Someone is suffering in front of him, so he helps. It's not a question. It's not a debate. It's an axiom of his existence. Person hungry? Give food. Person hurt? Give help. He just does it. There is no room for malice in his heart when someone is in need.
Then Zeff, ever the pragmatist, cuts right through the panic. He tells them to get a gas mask on Jin.
Right, to use the antitoxin that might be left in the filter, and then get him to the upper deck for fresh air. It's such a quick, brilliant piece of field medicine. Patty and Karn are just stunned by the quick thinking. It's that old pirate brain kicking in.
It speaks to Zeff's experience. He's seen this kind of thing before. This is not his first naval battle, and probably not his first encounter with poison gas. You don't survive on the Grand Line without learning how to handle every dirty trick in the book. He's probably seen MH5 or something just like it.
It's a leader taking charge. Sanji has the heart, the immediate compassion, but Zeff has the head, the experience to make that compassion effective. He snaps them out of it and they rush off to help Jin. And while this is happening, Luffy is just watching Krieg, and he is furious.
This is a different kind of anger than we've seen from him before. When he fought Morgan, it was for Kobe and Zoro. Against Buggy, it was for Nami and the town. Against Kuro, for Usopp and Kaya. This is more personal. He's looking at Krieg, a man who calls himself a captain and is utterly disgusted by what he sees.
He yells at Jin, telling him he can't die, that he has to survive just to spite a captain like Krieg. It's not, please don't die, it's an order, survive. Luffy doesn't plead, he commands. He's essentially telling Jin, your feelings of loyalty were misplaced, but your life is not. Live and prove him wrong. And Krieg just scoffs, saying Jin has about an hour left, dismissing him like a broken pocket watch. This whole sequence is a perfect microcosm of leadership styles. Krieg leads through fear and disposability. Zeff leads through experience and respect. And Luffy leads through pure, infectious will. He doesn't ask for loyalty. He inspires it so fiercely that people are willing to change their entire lives to follow him.
He tells Krieg he's going to kick his ass, no matter what. But Jin, even as he's being carried away, poisoned and dying, still whispers that Luffy can't beat Krieg.
The fear Krieg instills is that deep. It's like a brand on his soul. Even after being betrayed, a part of him still believes in the myth of Don Krieg's invincible power. It's heartbreaking, really. He's a victim of this cult of personality built on armor and guns.
It's a form of psychological conditioning. He's been taught for years that Krieg is the strongest, that his arsenal is unbeatable. Betrayal doesn't erase that deeply ingrained belief overnight. But as Jin is carried off, Luffy turns to face Krieg, and this is where it all kicks off. Sanji grabs his arm, trying to stop him.
He's being the sensible one. He just saw this kid nearly get blown to bits defending them. He saw the poison gas. He knows Krieg is a walking armory. He doesn't want to watch this kid who defended their home get himself killed. It's a protective instinct.
But Luffy just brushes his hand away. He doesn't get angry, he doesn't argue. He looks at Sanji, dead serious, and says, "I won't die."
Chills every time. That's the line. That's the whole chapter. It's not a boast. It's not "I'll try not to die" or "I think I can win." It's a statement of fact from his perspective. Death is not on the table as a possible outcome.
It's a rejection of the premise of the question. Sanji is operating in a world of probabilities and risk. Luffy is operating in a world of absolutes, dictated by his dream. To become the Pirate King, he must survive this. Therefore, he will survive this. It's a perfect, albeit insane, logical loop. Dying here would be a contradiction of his entire being, so it simply cannot happen.
It's not just confidence, it's certainty. And with that, he just charges straight at Don Krieg, who has a whole arsenal of guns and bombs pointed right at him. No plan, no hesitation, just pure forward momentum.
Krieg just smirks. He sees it as reckless foolishness. He can't comprehend a mindset that isn't based on tactical advantage and superior firepower. He starts tossing bombs at the bridge, welcoming Luffy to his grave. He thinks he's in complete control of the situation.
The explosions kick up this huge screen of water, totally obscuring the bridge. It's chaos. You can't see a thing. And through that mist, Krieg fires another round of his giant steel stakes from his shield. He's not even aiming at a person, just at the area where he thinks Luffy is. He's trying to win with overwhelming, indiscriminate force.
Sanji can only listen, and that's the most terrifying part for him. He hears the explosions, and then this sickening thump of the stakes hitting their target. It's not a clang of hitting the deck. It's a wet, heavy sound. He thinks Luffy is done for.
Krieg even seems a little intrigued in his arrogant way. He notes how his enemy would rather die than retreat. He frames it as a foolish sort of bravery, but you can tell he's a little impressed. He thinks he's won. He's already composing the eulogy.
But then a figure walks out of the mist.
And it's Luffy. He's walking. The absolute madman is walking. He's got a stake sticking out of his side, another one clean through his left shoulder, but he hasn't even slowed down. He's just walking forward, completely undeterred, like he's got a splinter he'll deal with later.
This is the moment everyone at the Bharati, Patty, Carne, the other chefs, realize they are not dealing with a normal person. They've seen tough guys. They've seen pirates. They have never seen anything like this. This is a monster of a different breed.
Not even close. And then Luffy does something brilliant. It's not just about tanking the hit. It's about learning from his own tactic. He flips forward and slams his leg down on the water to create another smokescreen, another distraction.
It's a brilliant piece of battlefield improvisation. Krieg used the water from his bombs to obscure his attack. Luffy creates his own smokescreen with a single move. He's taking the conditions of the fight and turning them to his advantage.
And while Krieg is blinded, yelling about where he went, Luffy stretches his arm way back, ready to deliver a punch right through the water. It's a gum pistol, but it's not just a quick shot. He's putting everything behind this.
Krieg realizes what's happening. He's not a complete fool. He sees that Luffy is going to land this hit no matter what it costs him. This isn't a feint. This is an all-in attack. So he deploys his last-ditch defense.
The porcupine cape, a cloth studded with massive iron spikes, covering his whole body. He thinks it makes him untouchable. It's the ultimate passive defense. You can't hit me without destroying yourself.
He thinks wrong. Any sane fighter would see that and abort the attack, try to find another angle. But Luffy doesn't operate on the principle of self-preservation. He operates on the principle of victory.
He doesn't stop. He doesn't redirect. He doesn't hesitate. He just throws the punch. He screams, and his fist goes right into that wall of spikes.
The paneling here is masterful. You see the fist connecting, the spikes clearly piercing his skin. His fist meets that field of spikes, and you know it must be agony. But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all. The force carries through. The spikes just become part of the impact, and he lands a solid blow right on Krieg's jaw. For the first time, the great Don Krieg, the man who commands a fleet of 50 ships, is sent sprawling by one skinny kid. Super.
That's the thing about Luffy. You can have all the armor and weapons in the world, but he operates on a different axis. His pain tolerance and his will to win are his greatest assets. Krieg built his entire philosophy around external tools. Luffy's greatest weapon is internal. It's something Krieg can't comprehend and therefore cannot defend against.
And the follow-up is just ice cold. He's standing over Krieg, hand on the stake in his shoulder, blood dripping down, his other hand completely mangled from the spikes, and asks, "So, is this my grave or yours?" It is, without a doubt, the coldest line in the East Blue so far.
Then he just casually pulls the stake out of his own shoulder and tosses it aside. Not with a grimace, not with a cry of pain. He just yanks it out like it's a weed in a garden.
The power move of all power moves. He admits he doesn't have sneaky weapons like Krieg, but he makes it clear that he's a fighter, and he is not going to die here. The declaration is everything. He's not just fighting Krieg, he's fighting Krieg's entire ideology of fear and overwhelming force, and he's winning.
Sanji is just watching, completely stunned, and all he can say is that Luffy is crazy. It's the only word his brain can supply for what he's witnessing.
But Zeff corrects him. He tells Sanji to watch, just watch him fight. This is where the lesson of the arc really crystallizes. Zeff isn't just watching a brawl. He's seeing a ghost of the past and a vision of the future all at once.
While Zeff is talking, we cut up to the top deck. Patty and Carne are with Jin, trying to get him to breathe. It's a moment to let the intensity of the fight settle.
It's a nice little moment of humanity and classic Patty and Carne humor. Patty suggests making him some food, because that's their solution for everything, and Carne, completely deadpan, reminds him that Jin's already been poisoned once today. Perfect timing.
Their bickering gets cut short when Jin starts to hack and cough, a sign of life. The antidote might be working. It's a small victory that parallels the larger one happening below. Sanji's kindness is bearing fruit, just as Luffy's will is.
And back on the battlefield, Zeff is explaining it all to Sanji. He says it's not often you meet someone with this kind of resolve. Someone who, once they've set their eyes on a goal, will not quit, no matter what. It's like a spear of conviction.
It's a powerful metaphor, not a shield of conviction, but a spear. It's an active, piercing force. Zeff has seen this before. He's from the Grand Line. He knows what kind of person it takes to challenge that sea. He's seen people with this quality before, and he likely saw many of them die, but he recognizes the trait itself as something special.
He says that whether Luffy wins or loses, that's the kind of man he respects. And you can just see the gears turning in Sanji's head. This is everything Zeff has been trying to teach him, not with words, but by example. And here it is, embodied in this straw-hatted kid.
This is Zeff giving Sanji permission. He's not just commenting on the fight. He's looking at his surrogate son, who he knows dreams of the All Blue, and he's showing him what a real captain looks like. He's showing him the kind of person worth following to the Grand Line. He's saying, this is it. This is the man you've been waiting for. I'm letting you go.
It's the antithesis of Krieg. Krieg says, follow me or die. Zeff is saying, follow him and live. Truly live. And it's working. The other chefs who were terrified just a few chapters ago, hiding under tables, are now on the deck, cheering for Luffy. His spirit is winning them over.
Even Krieg's own pirates are starting to look nervous. Their invincible captain, their symbol of absolute power, just got laid out by a skinny kid with 2 holes in him and a mangled hand. The foundation of their fear-based loyalty is cracking.
Krieg, of course, gets up in a rage. He can't handle being embarrassed. His ego is more bruised than his jaw. He throws a wild punch at Luffy.
And it connects with Luffy's shoulder guard, the one with the stake hole in it. Krieg smirks, thinking he's got him, and fires the cannon built into the shield, an explosive shell at point-blank range. It's a desperate, angry move.
But he completely miscalculated. He paid for his arrogance. He assumed Luffy was just a dumb brute who takes hits. He wasn't paying attention.
Luffy is already gone. He used his rubber body to escape just before the blast. He let the shoulder guard take the hit, but his body contorted around it. He absorbed the impact in a way only he can, and in one fluid motion, he hooks his foot around the back of Krieg's neck.
And it's a completely new move. He's using his leg. It's like a gum-gum axe or a hook. It's an incredible display of agility and battle IQ. He uses the recoil from the explosion he just dodged to add momentum to his own attack. It's beautiful physics. Super!
He uses Krieg's own height and momentum against him. Krieg was lunging forward with the punch, and Luffy just redirects all that forward energy straight down into the deck.
And just yanks him down, slamming him face first into the deck for a second time. The chapter ends with Krieg down again, completely outplayed.
Luffy is not just enduring the attacks anymore. He's adapting. He's learning Krieg's patterns, the over-reliance on weapons, the rage-fueled lunges, and using his own unique abilities to counter them perfectly.
He took the hits he needed to take to close the distance and understand the fight. He paid the entrance fee with his own body. Now he's in control. He figured out the rhythm. Krieg is playing checkers and Luffy is playing gum-gum chess.
It's what makes his fight so compelling. It's not just about getting a power-up or having a stronger final move. It's about him using his creativity and sheer tenacity to overcome impossible odds. He turns every disadvantage, his weird body, the chaotic environment, and the enemy's own attacks into a weapon.
Exactly. Krieg has a weapon for every situation. Luffy is the weapon for every situation. It's a fundamental difference in how they approach combat. Krieg needs to pull a new gadget out of his armor. Luffy just needs to imagine a new way to stretch.
It also feels like a definitive statement as we approach the end of the East Blue Saga. This part of the ocean is full of villains who rely on tricks and gimmicks. Buggy had his knives and his devil fruit trick of being uncuttable. Kuro had his speed and his elaborate, cruel plan. Now, Krieg has his overwhelming arsenal.
And Luffy is just punching through all of it. He's proving that sheer will and a straightforward fighting style, backed by a powerful dream, can beat any cheap trick. It's the perfect end to this phase of his journey. This is his final exam for the East Blue, and he is passing with flying colors.
Before we get to predictions, Oda's author comment this week was about getting letters with Tare Panda envelopes.
Yeah, he said they seem popular and then pointed out that if you look really closely, the panda is actually droopy. Tare means droopy or saggy in Japanese.
It's just a fun, goofy little aside. A nice moment of levity from Oda after such an intense, bloody chapter. It's a good reminder of the charming weirdness that underpins the whole series. He can draw a man pulling a metal spike from his own body, and then, in the margins, talk about a cute, droopy panda. That's One Piece.
For sure. All right, what a chapter. If you've got a theory about what ridiculous weapon Krieg is going to pull out next, drop it in the comments below. We'd love to see what you're thinking. A hidden boot knife, a helmet that shoots bees, nothing is off the table.
Okay, predictions for Chapter 64. I'll start.
Go for it.
My first prediction is that we'll see Pearl try to interfere. He's been completely useless and terrified this whole time, just watching from the sidelines. I think he's going to see Krieg losing and in a moment of panic or misplaced loyalty, try a sneak attack on Luffy, probably with his fire, and Sanji will be the one to intercept him with a swift kick. It would be Sanji's first official act as a protector of his new captain.
Ooh, I like that. A good way to get Sanji back into the action and show his decision has been made.
My first one is that Gin is going to recover enough to do something crucial. He's not going to fight Krieg. He's too weak for that. But I think as Krieg reveals his final, most devastating weapon, Gin might shout out a weakness in the armor or a flaw in the strategy that gives Luffy the final opening he needs, a final act of defiance against the captain who betrayed him.
That would be a perfect resolution for his character, paying back the debt he feels he owes to both Sanji and Luffy. Okay, my second prediction. We're going to get a small flashback from Zeff, directed at Sanji. Not the whole story yet, but just a glimpse of the moment on the rock, maybe the moment Zeff gave Sanji the food, to finally explain to Sanji why he respects Luffy's will to survive so much. He'll see Luffy's refusal to die, and it will directly trigger that memory.
Yeah, the time is right for that. This fight is the perfect catalyst. It's the living embodiment of the lesson Zeff learned all those years ago. Okay, my second one. Luffy is going to break Krieg's invincible Wootz steel armor. Not get around it, not outsmart it. He's going to wind up for a gum-gum bazooka and just shatter the breastplate, proving that no amount of armor can stop him. The symbol of Krieg's strength will be literally broken to pieces.
A symbolic victory as much as a physical one. I can see that. My final prediction is a bit more specific. Krieg is going to get desperate and try to use the MH5 gas again, maybe a smaller, more directed version from a canister on his person. But before he can, Gin, having been carried away, will throw something, a knife, a piece of debris from the broken mast, and knock it out of his hand, saving everyone from a distance.
Ah, so Gin's crucial action is to stop the poison. That fits perfectly with him being the one who suffered from it. Poetic justice. Okay, my final prediction is that the fight will end, and as Krieg is defeated, his entire fleet, what's left of it, will just turn and flee. No loyalty, no desire for revenge. The moment their fear-based leader is broken, the whole Krieg Pirates armada just dissolves into chaos, and every ship runs for itself.
The ultimate failure of his philosophy. When the symbol of power is gone, there's nothing left to hold them together. It just evaporates. That would be a very fitting end for the pirate armada.